That is Raila Amolo Odinga. That's why the president had to cancel his 4-day Ukambani tour. But the residents, including the leaders from this particular region, led by Charles Nguna, alias known as CNN, and Kawai and other leaders from this particular region, had assured the residents that the president will be coming back to continue with the programs and the projects that they were supposed to launch that particular day. He started yesterday in Makueni. Today it is all for Kitui County before he heads over to Machakos. But where we are right now, the president is expected, especially in Mwingi North constituency, where he will start to launch, of course, Kamwongo, Kandiwa Road, and then coming here to Mwingi West constituency to inspect the Kwasiku Migwani Mbomboni Road. And of course, this particular point we are in is very crucial for the people of Mwingi West, because this is where the president will be launching not only this particular road you're seeing, as well as REREC will be launching the last mile connectivity, which the president had assured many residents in this particular region and the very part of the country. Now, joining us right now is none other than His Excellency here, Mwingi West Member of Parliament, that is Charles Nguna, who is also known as a CNN in this particular parts of the country. Mheshimiwa, thank you for joining us, and tell us more. What does this visit mean to the people of Mwingi West, especially when the president is coming to launch the last mile connectivity and this road we are seeing?
Today, I am the happiest member of parliament in the country. And let me begin by appreciating the president for seeing it wise to complete this thought project, which just started in my constituency border of Kitui West and Mwingi West. We would like to appreciate the government for making sure this road is complete by the end of next year. And I'm very happy. The project is going to cost 3.8 billion, including compensation, which has already taken place. I know much of the information will be given by the president regarding the roads. Yes. But
the last time you were here, Mheshimiwa, you, Kawai, and other leaders, you assured the residents that the projects will be ongoing. Has it been ongoing even before the president?
Yeah, it has been going on. You can check. The work is ongoing, and the other section of Lokoa all the way to Bondoni, they also doing the rest. This road for the daughters and Thomases of this country, I want to tell you, just check. By the end of next year, we will be done with this project and move on to the next one.
And I'm sure you're preparing for the president. Maybe finally, Mheshimiwa, just tell us quickly, you heard what the president yesterday said, that the Ukambani region for a long time have been in the opposition. Have you tired being in the opposition?
I would like to say that when we get elected, we need to work as elected leaders. Right now, I am a champion of when you get elected from the MCA to member of parliament, to women rep, to senator, to county women rep, up to president. You need to work together to collaborate for the benefits of the citizens. Of course, we have been in opposition for the last 15 years. And that is the longest for any community. So I'm calling upon our leadership to make sure we focus on development first. Then we re-strategize. 2027, we do better so that we can also be in the government.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa CNN. That's Mheshimiwa CNN. I need to leave him so that we can go to the president. The president any moment from now is expected to arrive here in Mwingi West. As I told you earlier on, the president will be starting in Mwingi North, coming here to Mwingi West, heading over to Kitui South, and then finally wrapping it off at Kitui East, and then heading over on Friday to Machakos County. We'll be briefing you on the particular update as and when the president arrives. But Njue, back to you in studio.
Thank you, Abdiaziz Hashim there from Mwingi West. They are actually having a conversation with Charles Nguna, Honorable the MP, and talking about power and also roads that the president is supposed to launch. If you remember, as they are mentioned, the president had planned this visit during the same week that the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga passed on, and now he's in Ukambani. We'll be getting more in regards to that, and as soon as the president is there, we'll be crossing over to Mwingi West. Well, now to the conversation that we are looking. The president is having his tour of Makueni, Kitui, and also Machakos counties, but we're also having a conversation here on tourism. Kenya's tourism sector, which has been one of the highest earners in the recent past and for decades, and we are working towards actualizing 3 million visitors this year. Where are we? There's a conversation that we are having. I remember the USA had topped the charts in regards to visitors when it to international visitors last year, and of course Uganda and Tanzania are also other countries that are also on the forefront of bettering tourism here in the country. And when we talk about that, we are talking about both international or global and intra-regional. And also COVID-19 pandemic also almost brought the industry to its knees, but we have rebounded over the years. We have also engaged in new markets in tourism. What am I talking about? I'm talking about, we have seen sports tourism. You've seen we had Chan a few months ago. We also have numerous marathons right here in the country, and also we are witnessing biking and even something else that we also need to take keen interest in, medical tourism. We have one of the best hospital setups in the region, and that has also brought a number of people here for medical tourism. The Kenya Tourism Board was named the best in Africa during the Baliarinka Awards, and the Masai Mara National Reserve named as the best safari destination, just to mention where we are in terms of the numbers. But enough of that. Allow me to just rope in my panel of experts, beginning from my immediate left. We have Shazmin Manji. Shazmin is the Director of Retail and Corporate Sales, Twiga Tours. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And just next to Shazmin, we have Fred Odek, who is the Chairman, Kenya Tourism Federation.
Thank you very much.
Karibu.
Asante.
Maybe to begin with the number that I've just mentioned, the 3 million tourists by the end of this year, is quite ambitious. If you look at other years, we've never hit 3 million. Mr. Fred, do you think we are on course to achieve that?
By and large, yes. Realistically, no. I don't think we can grow that number that quick. The reason is that if you look at the market we have, we still have the same source markets. And always when we discuss numbers in the industry, we need to understand that Kenya is a long-haul destination, which means that our main clientele is far-reach from us. And so capacity is another issue. Do we have enough capacity to bring tourists in? Number two, we are competing with everybody else across the region, within the East African market, South African market. And so are we the most preferred destination? Are we placing ourselves at the most preferred destination? So the numbers are growing, yes, but I don't think we are going to reach the 3 million number yet. We still have a short window, which is between this month and December. December is basically the best month for the domestic market. You're going to have a lot of influx into our reserves, our beaches, the western region in terms of hotel bookings. So that is going to surge. But I don't think where we are today, we are going to actually hit the 3 million mark. That would be quite a lucky note. But with the kind of work that has been done, the approvals that have been done for the airlines coming from Europe, Asia, we still have another year or so to hit that mark. Yeah.
Shazmin, I would also want to pick your mind in regards to the 3 million that we are keen on achieving. I'm also looking at it in the context of the head of state declaration that the no visa, for about 3 months that you can visit the country. Has it really increased the numbers that we can almost close into the 3 million mark?
I think it's definitely made access to the country much easier. The new ETA process is by far amongst the easiest on the African continent. It's a simple and easy to use system. And obviously for the continent, we've also made Kenya a no visa destination completely, which makes it very attractive to African travelers, as long as the product is marketed correctly to them and is affordable to them, then it can help us reach the 3 million mark. If we look at the size of the African continent, the population, with over 1 billion people, if we were able to just target 1% of that, we would be doing phenomenally beyond the 3 million mark.
And as tour operators, are you ready? Because then the big number will also attract bigger infrastructure.
There is a lot of tour operators out there. That is the beauty. There's a wide range of operators who offer a range of products and services at different price points. So I think the industry is definitely ready to receive these kind of numbers. Just we're waiting for the numbers. We're doing our part to try and bring in the numbers. We just need to make sure we now get those numbers.
All right. Fred, I accompanied the president over the weekend during the Ma Cultural Festival in Amboseli, Kimana Gate, and I remember it was very instrumental, especially for the Kajiado residents, because he handed over the deed to the Amboseli National Park to the locals. I would like to pick your mind in regards to that gesture, and what may be, because I'm quite sure a lot of viewers are watching from Kajiado, what are they going to benefit from in this regard?
The Amboseli National Park, from the beginning, was actually an asset for Kajiado County. It was basically gazetted into a national park, and the land is a community land. It was taken from the people from that region. So for us, best thing is that give it back to them, and we need to separate two things. One, wildlife management and the reserve management. Those are two different things. We still expect that KWS will be still instrumental in wildlife management, and Kajiado County will be instrumental in management of the reserve. Now, that allows them to do two things. One is that the people around Kajiado, because remember, the park itself has access areas that actually link the wildlife from the park and outside. So now they have a chance to compensate the people who actually live around the wildlife, which before could have been ignored. So that was not a benefit for them. For now, it is in their hands. It's in the county government's hands to ensure that everybody who actually is part of that reserve actually is compensated by the collection they're having to do by themselves. But our understanding is that while that's a very good thing, we need KWS to be able to actually still stay in the management of wildlife. Because a number of times the problem with the management of wildlife is that the resources required to manage wildlife may not be readily available in the hands of Kajiado County as we speak. So it's a good thing for the industry at large. And now the industry that we are part of needs to actually support Kajiado County and assist them on how to do their work. Because again, there'll be an issue of collecting revenue from that place, managing that revenue, ensuring that the people feel the effect of that transfer. Because if you don't do that and they don't feel it, they'll actually not manage the resource. Remember, if you look at Kajiado, the reserve itself, that is a very good source from Kilimanjaro area because of the water catchment that they have in that area. So it's very important that the conservation part of it is actually kept to the best levels. So we support it as an industry. We have no problem with what they've done. We would really like to have a talk with Kajiado County to understand the modalities they're putting in place. First, in collection of revenue for the place. Two, the contract they're going to have with KWS in terms of management of wildlife, and what they're going to do to the community that are actually having the areas that are around the conservancies that we have. Because we have, those are outside, and then the national one that was already inside. So if we manage that ecosystem, I think we'll all benefit.
Maybe you can chip in on the same question, because you're a tour operator. Are there some benefits that are going to accrue with this move? And maybe what are some of the challenges with this new move?
I think it will be a very positive move. Like Fred said, we are looking forward to it. We're looking forward to greater collaboration with the county government. I think KWS has definitely done a wonderful job in managing it, but we hope that the county government can do the same, if not better, in terms of managing the resources, the infrastructure within the park. That for us as a tour operator is extremely important. Managing the internal infrastructure. How do we ensure that the guest experience inside the park meets or exceeds expectations? Also, we have to be careful in terms of what is the county's plans in terms of expansion or allowing additional development in and around the park, and what impact that will have. It is my hope as a tour operator that they will engage private sector more. I think that's one of the things that's really lacking when policy is being developed. Engagement with private sector and the environmentalists to understand how much more can a park, for example, of Amboseli size, which is give or take just under 400 square kilometers, how much more development can it take in terms of new hotels and lodges in and around the park?
Yeah, and also as tour operators, how are you adapting to the new festive packages? Because we have witnessed that during peak the prices are almost quite high, and it's only natural because of the influx of the numbers. And how are you adapting these to ensure that even local tourists want to spend time with their families and also have fun during the festive season?
Yeah, I was chatting with a colleague yesterday who's very prominent in the domestic market to understand really what is the impact in the domestic market. This is the time when schools are closing, and so the Kenyans travel between November, not just in the festive season, but enjoying the low season as well. And what is very clear is that the increase in park fees has made it very difficult for the average Kenyan to travel within Kenya at an affordable price. Packages outside the country are more affordable, not just in the low season, but definitely in the peak season. And so there's a shift for the Kenyan consumer to re-look at where they're looking to travel to. Instead of traveling locally, they're opting to go outside the country and spend the money outside rather than locally. That, of course, for our economy and our industry is not a great thing. It has an impact, not just for me as a tour operator, but for the entire chain down the line, for the hotel and the suppliers of the hotels and up to the mama bogas and the manufacturers, etc. So in this season, which is considered a little bit of an off season before the festive season, where we relied heavily on domestic travel, we're seeing that domestic travel is not there as much as it should be.
And Fred, looking at, there have been proposals to increase park fees. And I don't know how, as a federation, you took this, and what would you want? What are some of the amendments or policies that we should adopt when it comes to park fees? Because at the end of the day, the economy is harsh, but the cost of everything is going up.
The park fee discussion that was done between KWS and the public started somewhere in March this year. And the explanation was very straightforward, that the country has not done that review for 18 years, and the cost of managing those parks was getting high. So that was done in relation to what do they need to manage those parks. And so that was generally agreed among the industry members and KWS, despite the fact that some of the costs, like Shazmin has mentioned, that are not favorable to the local market, because the jump looks quite high compared to what was there before. But the justification was that this was not been done for 18 years. So if it could have been done gradually, people could have gotten adapted to it and actually consumed it much better. Now, you'll expect in any industry that the costs of living will always keep on going up because of inflation and everything else. So we have no beef as an industry with the KWS increasing the park fee. What they now need to do is education of the traveler and the traders on their reasoning for that and what they bring on the table. Because if you increase the park fees, people expect you to have better services in these places. And if you can give them that, show the improvement of what you're doing, they'll slowly and slowly consume what you're telling them. Now, as an industry, we do expect this to happen, but we are looking for stability. We need to be told, if we do a review now, when do we do the next review? So that the industry is very much aligned and can actually inform the trading partners on what to expect. Now, if you sit back and wait for 18 years, then you come and say, because I didn't do it 18 years, I must do it now, and you do a heavy jump. In the interim, what you do, you actually affect yourself. Now, what's going to happen from what Shazmin has said is that people are going to shy away from visiting these parks because of the cost is high. So in the interim, the actually management of KWS will see less revenue on their side, because the influx numbers they are looking at, that they were using their costing on, will not actually come. As an industry, we get very worried when the consumer chooses another destination away from their own destination. In developed countries, people travel in their destination first before they go to another destination. If you look at South Africa, which is one of our competitors, their highest client is the local.
Local tourism?
Yes, is their highest client. Now, in Kenya, our highest client is actually the international traveler. Despite the fact that we are a long-haul destination, we have not managed to get the local traveler to actually embrace the product. Now again, before we can actually entice them to get it done, we've done something else that is now making them to consider another destination. So we need to change that mindset, that our best product is our local product first, because it does two things. One, you develop your own country when you consume your own product, and two, not every Kenyan knows the length and width of the country. Even just by taking a car and driving to a different county is very important as a Kenyan. You get to learn a couple of things within your area and demystify a lot of things by just being in those places. So let's move away from expensive tourism to explorative tourism, whereby we explore our own country. If we do that, it becomes easy for us to actually appreciate what we have as a country.
Looking at how you guys were able to bounce back, COVID-19 almost, brought the industry to its knees, and even some of the tour operators had to shut down. How did you bounce back from that, and what are some of the lessons that you are able to pick from that? And not only COVID, something else that usually brings issues or rattles the country is the general election. I remember in 2022 we had one, and we had not quite recovered from the COVID-19, but at least now we are talking about 3 million visitors projection. Yeah. Then it shows that you guys have been able also to pick up as well.
Yeah, COVID was a very difficult time for the entire country. Tourism as well was no exception. We were grateful for the domestic tourists who really started to explore Kenya more and more at that point. Bouncing back, one of the key learnings has been the unity within the industry, how the industry came together and spoke with one voice to address the challenges both at a local, national and international level, to send across the message that Kenya is a safe place to travel to. Safety is paramount when dealing with the international markets, our source markets. And again, as we come up to elections in 2027, that is one of the key messaging we must be able to put out as a united front, not just as a tourism industry, but as an entire nation, that Kenya is a safe country to visit. The people are warm and friendly at all times. And the negative images that people see, that the Western media sometimes like to portray, is not the reality on the ground. We must be our biggest trumpeters, if you will. You must be the biggest shout out as a destination, brand ambassadors. The Kenyans must speak loudly about how wonderful it is, rather than negatively about what are the few bad things that are happening, and amplifying that rather than the positive that is there. That is very, very important. And it's with that positivity, we were as an industry, that collective messaging, we were as an industry able to get out of COVID and the 2022 elections, because there was a little bit of uncertainty with the global markets, and we're hoping that will continue moving forward.
Fred, I did mention when beginning this conversation about the new markets that we have been exploring. We're looking at the sports tourism. We've had a number of marathons, and they keep just, and also we've had the medical tourism. We are doing biking, hiking. We've seen a group of 50 bikers. We've seen headed to Mount Kenya. How are we doing in the new market as opposed to the conventional traveling to game parks or national reserves?
Most of what we have under
medical tourism.
Sports tourism is basically under adventure. There's a lot of people who are coming here basically to explore. And Kenya has one advantage. We've been marketed as a marathon country. And it has been identified that there are regions in the country that allows people to train better, good attitude, to train and actually get better. Now, if you look at KTB, the Kenya Tourism Board, what they've done is that they've now identified that as a product. And in all their messaging, they are now allowing the international traveler to understand that you can come to Kenya to train for sports. You can come to Kenya to hike. You can come to Kenya to... Now that allows them, the traveler out there, and even the local travelers here, there's a lot of sports travel within the local Kenyans. a lot of the gym phenomenon has come out in Kenya. Hiking is being done every weekend, people are hiking somewhere. And that adds into the issue of exploring your own country. If you live in Nairobi and you're doing hiking in Kiambu, you're doing hiking in Nakuru, you're doing hiking in Aberdares, you're basically getting to learn your country. Number two, you support the resources in that area. Simple hotels, simple restaurants, you support them by actually distributing the money that is coming from Nairobi to those areas. That is the importance of tourism. Now, people have spoken about medical tourism. It's an important area, but if I look at the Kenyan market today, I don't think we're still at the level of talking about medical tourism. Mm-hmm. The hospitals we have in Kenya that can do medical tourism, apart from Nairobi Hospital, Nairobi West, Aga Khan.
Referral.
Now, the referral hospitals we have are actually overutilized by the locals. For you to actually do medical tourism, I would like to see a case whereby the locals themselves are properly cared for to actually advance the idea of that now we can take care of other people. Because if you look at our facilities, those that I've mentioned, those are very high-end properties, which takes care of the whole middle class that Kenya has through the medical insurance that we have. We need for us to talk about medical tourism to have a private sector in tourism that is basically dedicated for that kind of infrastructure, that kind of investment. Then the local people don't suffer. People try to rush to things that don't look at the country as a whole. Right now, for me, tourism that we're looking for, medical is not one of them. Because if you look at by and large, look at
not for now.
Not for now. Look at the statistics in the country. Where are our patients going? Our patients are going to India. Our patients are going to Turkey. Our patients are going to China for treatment. Now, how can we be talking about medical tourism unless we are talking about cosmetic procedures, while our actual sick are leaving the country for the same service outside? We are paying more money outside than actually we would talk about receiving in the country. So let's allow the country to develop more stronger infrastructure for medical services before we talk about the tourism sector now inviting people to come to Kenya for medical tourism. We have enough products. For me, we need to look at more in adventure, more in sports, more in our domestic, normal, traditional product of we're having of wildlife on the beaches. And if you look at the country, we are using almost only 7 parks. The entire country is not explored. I'll give you an example. We have the blue economy. Kisumu has got a port, which can actually be used to connect Kisumu and Uganda on a ship. It's not being utilized. That can be one of the biggest tourism products that you can sell, because that lake is clear water lake. It's the best place to play, and we can have a cruise ship there that goes to Mwanza, goes to Entebbe and back. But it's not being utilized. So the infrastructure within East Africa first needs to be used to actually allow people to play in that lake. Instead of talking about this complicated part of medical tourism, let's use what we have naturally. Tourism works very well naturally. So let's use the natural stuff that we have in our country. Our rivers, our lakes, our ocean, our mountains, all that needs to be exposed to people and marketed to people so that they enjoy it without causing any problem to the local communities. When you start talking about medical tourism, for me, the challenge is that you are going to starve the local people. Because medical is very expensive in Kenya. We must demystify that first before we talk about exporting it as a product.
It's a field that we will expect the results in a number of years.
In a number of years.
Still, let me pick from where Fred has left, and I'm looking at the tourist destinations that are being preferred now that we're in the peak. Are the parks, game parks, coast, upcountry, hiking? Which ones are being preferred most as an operator? And what are some of the challenges that you experience now that we're in peak season?
So we're coming to the end of the peak season, and then we'll start the festive season as the next peak season. For our international market, As Fred said, we work with mainly 7 main parks, maybe 10 of the private, including some of the conservancies, and the coastal region. So the product is very much restricted to those areas. And it's starting to also start getting very overcrowded as a result. The pressure on those parks is becoming quite intense. When we look at our numbers, earlier we were talking about the 3 million mark. If you look at the historic numbers of Kenya post-COVID, Kenya's numbers have been growing on average at a 15% rate year on year, 22, 23, 24, and it's expected to be similar for 2025. If that's the case and we're able to maintain this momentum and you're keeping the guests restricted to these 7 or 10 parks, you can imagine the pressure on those very delicate environments that we have. Trying to explore other areas and regions is definitely a priority, as long as the government gives us the right infrastructure and the right policies which are predictable, which are clear and which are streamlined, that allow investors to have confidence to come in and take the product beyond these 7 parks and 2-3 conservancies that are there. That way we have a wider product to offer the international consumer, and where the domestic consumer is concerned, they have more opportunities to go explore, do the adventure tourism, try out wellness tourism, and all the other offers that we're looking to try to grow in the industry.
Fred, and challenges, some of the challenges that you're facing during peak?
Challenges, of course, is bed nights. Bed nights and pricing, that always becomes a challenge, and that's understandable. It's the time when everybody wants to travel. The hotels will increase their pricing, of course, because it's a demand issue, and they will obviously want to make the most of it, like anywhere in the world. It's not exclusive to Kenya. This is a global thing. So pricing is obviously an issue, but we managed to work around it. Like I said, demand is still there for Kenya. The perception of Kenya being a quality destination overall is still there. People still have confidence in coming to Kenya. It has its issues, it has its challenges in terms of sudden jumps and knee-jerk policies that come into place. But other than that, there's still generally a good confidence to be able to continue selling Kenya as a destination.
And Fred, maybe to touch on infrastructure, I'm looking at when we went there, we drove for hours just looking for somewhere to sleep, because almost all the camps and the tented camps were all filled. What are some of the logistical, and also as a federation, what are some of the challenges that your members raise in regards to tourism, and especially now we are in the peak season?
The accommodation issue normally is a seasonal thing. The same parks that you were in the period when the president was there and were all full, in 2 days will be all empty. Why is that so? Because you went there as a delegation from the government and the community, and so they were all filled up. They have to stay in the same area. Remember, when you work in a national park, like she started telling you, the accommodations are limited. And they're limited of the fact that you need to space them in a way that they don't affect the environment. So during the peak season, you'll have that problem whereby accommodations are less. But to the industry, I think the main challenge we have is the infrastructure, whereby the roads are not properly done. And so that changes the experience that people are looking for. Security is another issue, that all those areas need to be secure so that people feel safe when they access the parks. The main highways have been the biggest challenge for us, because every time tourists on the road, communities around those highways keep on having picketing. And when they picket, they block the road. So you actually have clients going to a particular place, like Amboseli has been having the same problem, Mara has the same problem. Livestock on the roads is another problem, where people drive livestock on the highway, a sheep is knocked down and the whole highway is shut down. And it becomes now a communication between the driver guides and the communities around there and the local police. And remember, the people that you're inconveniencing are working on a particular time frame. They need to be in a particular place at a particular time. Because if you're coming to Kenya for a safari, maybe you have only 10 days. Every day must count for something. So when your people are being held on the highways for that long because of the intricacies of the communities around, that's a challenge. And as an industry, we've tried our level best to basically negotiate without causing any more commotion, because we must live with the communities around those areas. They actually the custodians of those parks or the regions where they are, but it's a challenge. Another issue is most of the roads that link us to these main reserves are not properly done. So you find that a road is done up to somewhere, and then another 2 hours or 3 hours of drive is a very bad road. And it takes a lot of time for people to lobby for the road to be done. So for us to benefit as a country, we need to basically invest in this area that we want people to actually explore. Do the infrastructure, the roads, the internet, things that make it easier for people to actually spend time in those areas. And then when it comes to the issue of accommodation, I think the most important thing is that we need to ensure that they are done with a study. Don't just go clamp accommodation in a place because somebody said, oh, we were looking for an hotel, we didn't get a room somewhere. Accommodations actually kill reserves. If you overput them in a reserve, you actually kill the destination. Because why people prefer Kenya, tourists prefer to come to Kenya, is that our product is still unique and authentic. Now, once you change that part of the product being authentic and turn it into a city, you drive away that particular client you're looking for. So it's important that we keep less accommodation, and if we must add accommodations in these reserves, a study must be done. Does it make sense to actually add more accommodations? Yeah.
And still on the same, let me look for market diversification. The reason I'm talking about market diversification is because we heavily rely on tourists from Europe and America. Okay. And there are other markets that we can delve into, and they have very good population. Practical example, India, we also have China. So how are you doing as a federation to ensure that we also rope in some of these new markets that we haven't tapped, and especially the Asian market, which has a big population?
As a federation, I think we've done very well. If we look at the last 4 years, Kenya has not done marketing the way they should. KTB has been starved of funds, and so they are not actually giving a marketing schedule for the country. What has happened that KTF and Kato has always put together a marketing team to actually get out to market the destination. Now, if you look at this, the lay of the land, we've ensured that we tap India as a destination. We've ensured that we tap South America as a destination. We've tapped Spain, which was not very common. We are now getting there for marketing. You'll find that we've got ourselves into Singapore, which is an Asia side for marketing. That if you go to a marketing in Singapore, basically you are getting yourself Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam. All those countries will be actually in that marketing expo. So we've diversified our market. And even within Africa, we go for the Indaba, which is very important for you to actually tap the Southern Africa market. If you look at what we've done, Kenya right now do a lot of work with Nigeria. If you look at Mombasa, the coast of our country, Diani, they are receiving a lot of tourists from Nigeria. They are receiving a lot of tourists from Uganda. And those are efforts done by the industry. Every year, if you look at what we are doing, that all the expos that are being done by Pearl of Africa in Uganda, we are always there. And the reason why we are doing that, this year, we went to another one, I think in Namibia. The reason why we are doing that is that we've identified the fact that for us to actually fill the beds we have, both in the coastal region and in our reserves, we need a diversified market. Both regional market, international market, what you're talking about. Some of the destinations people talk about, oh, why don't you go to China? China travel is controlled by the government of China.
I almost asked the same question.
So normally what happens is, if there's a year that they've been restricted not to go a certain direction, they'll not come. You'll find that we don't have those big numbers. And when they're allowed to do that, to travel, you'll see them here in droves. So you need to understand the destination. Where I'm going, who controls the travel? Is it government? Is it private sector? But by and large, we have tried for the last 4 years as a federation to ensure that the destination Kenya is presented in diverse markets. US is just one of them. UK is just one of them. Initially, those two are our main bread and butter. But if you look at the numbers, even if we do the numbers that are going to come end of year, you'll see a lot of Asia travel in Kenya. And one market that nobody has ever thought of doing, and Kenya is doing, Russia. We actually send teams from here to go to Russia to market Kenya, and they've done very well. So we are so diverse The only challenge we have is one, and that's why we've been talking to the government over and over again to work on the issue of capacity, flights. You need enough flights landing either in Mombasa or Nairobi to actually give you the kind of tourists you're looking for. And now, something very important has happened that will actually be, if we can now use that and market it properly, the issue of cruise tourism that is now happening in our Mombasa port. Cruise tourism have got the ability to give you, in one dock, 2,000 tourists, just like that. Now, the question is, are they just passing or are they docking? We don't need them passing. We need this marketing of cruise tourism to be done in a way that Kenya is a destination, not a passing port. And the destination means that they can stop there for 4 or 5 days. If you have a flooding of 2,000 tourists disembarking in Mombasa port, I can assure you, we'll be forced to get equipment from Nairobi to send to Mombasa to just manage those tourists within that 4 days. Yeah. And that is very good for the destination Mombasa and its surroundings, and the Savo East, Savo West, and Amboseli parks, and even those who can fly into the Mara. That 4 or 5 days changes an economy, because that is real spend on the ground. You know, the importance of tourism is that it's not a money that somebody is borrowing you. No. When you have tourists in your country, you are getting people paying money cash. The inflow of money is in your hands real time. And that's why I'm telling you, if we change the way we are marketing cruise tourism and make the destination Mombasa not just a passing port, but a landing port whereby we have got cruise scheduled for 5 days in Mombasa port, you'll be seeing people migrating Mombasa. Because that business is enough to sustain the livelihoods around that place.
Okay. I'm looking at also the same question. How are you as operators now, away from the Federation, how are you roping in these new markets? He's mentioned a market I had not heard of, Russia. Also the cruise ships that are also docking. How are you roping them in as tour operators? And also, how do you deal with cancellation? You might have 100 guests and then the last minute they decide to cancel because of a few things, maybe because of elections or something.
Let me separate the questions for a minute.
Yes.
Let's look at the product first, right? And accessibility. Like Fred said, cruise tourism and access to the destination is critical. As tour operators, we're working with KTF behind the scenes. KTF provides the platform, and the marketing is then done by the tour operators to sell the destination. So we're the ones who go out with our brochures, et cetera, to say why Kenya is such a fantastic destination. The communication is coming from the tour operators who are on the ground ready. They may be specialized in adventure, they may be specialized in wellness, they may be specialized in family retreats, luxury, mid-range budget, whatever it is. All the tour operators are coming together on this platform provided by KTF and Kato to go out and say, come to Kenya, we are ready for you, these are the products available. The cruise tourism is just another one which we're really pushing at the moment. But like I said, wellness, adventure. Other ones we're not thinking about much at the moment, but should be thinking about is city-based tourism. Nairobi is a vibrant city. Mombasa is a vibrant city. There's things like gastronomy, shopping that we can leverage on for just city breaks to build the numbers. And those don't have pressure on our delicate environments of the parks. It can compete with nearby destinations such as Cape Town and Dubai, if the right infrastructure and investment is allowed to happen. Other opportunities that we're also losing out on is wedding tourism. Weddings used to be really big in Kenya at one time. Right now, the current laws do not allow us to hold legal weddings, and as a result, we've lost this entire market. Nigeria, for example, spends millions of a couple of $1 million sometimes on their weddings. Indian weddings as well, we know. Indian weddings can go 3, 4, 5 days at a go. And they love destination weddings. Mombasa used to be a preferred destination. And for smaller weddings, our parks. We're losing on this and we need to find ways to bring this back. In terms of cancellations, we're guided by cancellation policies that are in place already by our partners, the hotels and other service providers. But in the case of abnormal events, election crisis or something like that, we usually engage our partners to come to an agreement and see how best to manage it. We do encourage our travelers to always buy a travel insurance the moment they pay a deposit for their holiday to Kenya, or a domestic traveler the moment they pay a deposit for their holiday within the country or beyond. Buy a travel insurance, because that travel insurance will cover you for any last minute cancellations. Travel advisories tend to be a challenge for us sometimes in the event of unrest, riots, etc. We've been seeing it in the June, July, early July period over the last couple of years. That creates a little bit of uncertainty, and in those cases, if the travel advisory changes, then they can go back to their travel insurance. And that is very important for our partners to understand, that that insurance protects the traveler, but at the same time protects the partners on this side, so that they don't lose money as well. That is very important.
And Fred, I'm looking at also concerns in regards to the shortage of skilled and experienced experts in the hospitality and guiding as well. And we are looking at what you're doing to collaborate with educational institutions to professionalize and retain top Kenyan talent. Because in Amboseli, there is the Ndovu Institute, there is a number of Kenya Wildlife Institutes around. If at all we are going to hit 3 million, and of course if we hit 3 million, we'll be looking at 5 million and so on and so forth, we will need a lot of skilled labor. From your side, where do you see us in terms of professionalism in this work?
In the region, if you look at the EAC, Kenya is the most capitalized country in terms of manpower. And that started from Utalii College, being the main center for excellence for tourism. And that has remained so. I don't think where we sit today, we actually have the problem of manpower in the industry. Our problem is interest.
Interest?
Those are two different things. We've got enough people who have been trained as driver guides, as hoteliers, as managers in the tour industry, travel. We have enough manpower. The issue that affected the industry most, which is what we're weaning ourselves from, was COVID-19. When COVID-19 happened, companies were forced to actually release their staff. And that demoralized a lot of people from the industry. Even though we recovered very quickly, the uptake of the staff was less because of the uncertainty of, am I going to get my clients back? So that has taken a while to actually get the entire workforce back in place. By the time the industry was ready now to employ, most of the best staff we had either opened their own outfit or left. Now, the biggest challenge we have in our country is that if you look across the region, walk into Tanzania, the workforce in Tanzania, actually the best workforce there is Kenyan. Go across to Uganda, the best workforce in Uganda, in the hotel industry, tour industry, those are Kenyans. Go all the way down to Kigali, Rwanda. The staff you have there, the best hotels there, those are Kenyans. So our challenge as a country is that we are training, and we are losing a lot of our best staff to the region.
Yeah.
You know, it's very funny. You can travel. I go to WTM and I get to a hotel. I get to a nice hotel, and the third person I'm meeting is a Kenyan. The manager for the hotel is a Kenyan.
Dubai. Yeah.
You walk into Dubai, you go to a Marriott, the person receiving you is a Kenyan. So we have a lot of manpower here, but we are exporting too much of it. That is the challenge we have. The good thing again is that we still have these trainings going on, and we still have staff coming out. So the program that normally is done by KEPSA, I think it's done by KEPSA and the Ministry for Public Works and the Ministry of Tourism, is that we need as an industry to ensure that we offer, what do you call it? We need to offer training to young people as they come in. When they come from the colleges, internships. We need to offer internships in our companies, in our hotels, in our restaurants. It's the only way to build capacity from college to work. So if we keep on doing that, I think we have enough manpower in the country to run the establishments we have. 3 million is a small number. If we talk about 3 million, I don't think we are challenged. The challenge will come when we get the 10 million. Yes.
But for now, we are sorted.
For now,
We should just avoid
the industry is ready.
the brain drain.
Yeah, the industry is ready.
And because of the interest of time, I'm going to give you each a minute for if is one policy change or government initiative or even stakeholder engagement that can be fronted to improve, and maybe now Fred did mention that to hit 3 million will be quite a feat, but just to improve so that as we gear into 2026 we have better numbers. Which are some of these policy changes?
I think rather than looking at policy changes, I would like to see more collaboration, more engagement between government and private sector at the time that they're making these policies. I think a week or two ago, we had the Ministry of Tourism do a retreat in Naivasha where they were talking about policy and the tourism plan for the next 5 years, but there's no representation by private sector. You can create any plan on paper, no doubt, but if you don't have buy-in from the private sector, from your investors, from your manpower, then that policy is not going to succeed the way you would like it to. Ultimately, it will become a hindrance because it will put the government against private sector, right? There'll be a lack of confidence, a lack of trust between the two parties. And that is what is really lacking at the moment. We need to build that up more collaborative engagement so that we can move forward. Ensure that the government understands how we operate as an industry so that these knee-jerk movements, last-minute reactions that they have with 24 or 48-hour notice of changes are reduced. Understand the impact that has on our source markets and even on the local markets. What does it do to consumer confidence? If we're able to have that collaborative engagement, I think this industry can reach 10 million within 5 years without a problem, because the investors will have the confidence to come in and say, yes, we have a consistent policy, we have streamlined policies, we have engagement, we can come in with 10 million, $100 million and build a resort, or build in restaurants, for example, build that whole gastronomy, build the wellness, adventure tourism, all these things, develop them further. If you have that investment, you'll hit the numbers without a doubt.
Very well. Fred?
For me, I think the reminder of the government is very simple. Tourism is run by the private sector. Government work is supposed to provide enabling environment and policies that allows us to actually do that business. Stability is key in tourism. People will not invest or plan to a destination that they cannot actually retain the same promise they were given. That is lacking currently. There's a very big disconnect between what KWS is doing and what the industry is asking them to do. And last and not least, we request government with the humility that they operate within the law. When a country operates within the law, investors are safe in that country. When a country works away from the law, you can never tell what they're going to do tomorrow, and that is exactly what we are going through right now. So our request as an industry, as a federation, let's work within the law.
All right. That has been Fred Odek, the chair, Kenya Tourism Federation. Just next to him, we have Shazmin Manji, who is the director of retail and corporate sales, Twiga Tours. We have been looking at the enhancing tourism, or the tourism outlook, especially now that we are in the festive season, our peak season for tourism, just trying to make sure that we have the 3 million tourists in the country. But for now, let's cross over to Mombasa. You do remember yesterday we had the International Accreditation Conference that is still continuing at the White Sands Resort, which is a global gathering of leaders and experts in quality assurance. And Brian Kimani, I can see him from the White Sands Hotel, ready to give us a feel of exactly what they have been doing yesterday and today, bearing in mind that this is a week-long conference. Over to you, Brian.
Well, thank you very much, Ben Troy Njue, back in Broadcasting House. You got it right. We are here in Mombasa, attending the first International Accreditation Conference, where accreditation services have been proven to drive socio-economic development through enhancement of trade and, of course, economic growth. And that has been the clarion call throughout this week here, that countries need to embrace accreditation services to drive socio-economic development here in Africa. And the man who understands this topic better is none other than Dr. Celestine Okanya. He is the chair of the African Accreditation Corporation. He's joining us this morning so that he can help us understand where is Africa in advancing accreditation and what is the role of accreditation services in socio-economic development here in Africa. Dr. Celestine Okanya, he's also the Director General of the Nigerian National Accreditation Service, NINAS. Thank you very much, Dr. Ali, for joining us here. What is the status of accreditation here in Africa?
Accreditation in Africa, I would have loved to say we have arrived, but not yet. But I think we've made a lot of progress in Africa. Currently in Africa, accreditation services covers about 32 countries effectively. That is to say, if you're running an economy, a business, an industry within the 32 countries I'm referring to, you can access accreditation service. But I think with the 1.6 billion people and economy of about 3.5 trillion US dollars, Africa needs more of accreditation service than we have now.
So you're talking about 35 countries with accreditation services?
Coverage, yes.
Coverage. And we're in a continent of about 54 countries.
Yes.
What happens to the others that are outside this coverage?
Those that are outside this coverage, they can access accreditation service, but it will be at a higher cost. You can imagine how much it used to cost to be accredited in Kenya when there was no KENAS. Assessors needed to fly from Europe, America, and other parts of the world to this place. And then all the payments are done in foreign currency. But since KENAS came up, accreditation service in Kenya went down. So now everything is done local. That's what the other countries I'm referring to are going to suffer. For them to access accreditation service, they need foreign accreditation bodies. They need assessors to fly business class from different countries to their country, and they need to keep them in some expensive hotel. At the end of the day, you will hear people complain or businesses complain accreditation is expensive, and that is the truth. So our vision and our hope in AFRAC, in our cooperation, is to ensure that no country is left behind on accreditation service. Even if they cannot afford it, to have one accreditation body, we should be able to provide a cost-effective accreditation service to those countries.
When you look at Africa, for example, kindly help us understand Africa without a proper accreditation infrastructure and Africa with a proper accreditation infrastructure. Help us understand the difference.
As a continent, for us to develop, there's a saying that says those who trade are those who develop. You agree with that? If you trade, you develop. For you to trade, you must have a product or service, right? The product or the service should have quality to be acceptable in the market. So Africa that do not have strong accreditation system will not have products that are acceptable in the market. And so we cannot trade. Then flip the coin, have an Africa, a continent that can pride itself in having well-organized accreditation system, strong accreditation system. What that will do is that we will, through this process that are scientific, very quiet, you don't know about it, we will, through that process, have very strong manufacturing industries, very strong MSMEs, and what will happen is that their product and services will be in the market, both local market and international market. And then when these foreign forex come into our countries, individual countries of Africa, then we get rich, we develop, we build beautiful places, we build economy that we can be proud of. So that's the difference.
That's the difference. When you look at Africa, you know, more than 1.5 billion people, an economy the size of $3.5 US trillion. 54 countries together. Is it practically possible to have an accreditation body in all the 54 countries?
In practice, yes. In economic sense, it is not advisable. Because there are some, you know how Africa is structured. There are small-sized nations, there are big-sized nations, there are small economies, there are big economy. What sustains the accreditation system of a nation is availability of certification bodies, inspection bodies, laboratories, verification bodies, and validation bodies. So if you are in a nation where you don't have these institutions, much of it, then creating an accreditation body will be a misplaced investment. So, but if you have a large economy like Kenya, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Nigeria, then you need accreditation body. So, to answer your question, I think it is prudent for every country to weigh the pros and cons of having accreditation body. My recommendation is that those that have small economy do not need to invest in having accreditation body. But our commitment as African Accreditation Corporation is that we are bound to provide that service to every nation of Africa, whether you have or you don't have accreditation body. The principle is entrenched. The system is possible.
And when you look at, providing accreditation services and conformity assessment, do we have any scientific empirical evidence that there is a correlation between accreditation services and socio-economic development?
Yes, we do have evidence-based facts, evidence-based, well-documented facts that accreditation supports development, it facilitates trade, and protects not just human health, but also the environment. And I'll give you an example. The only reason me and you could take this water and drink it without asking question who made this water, who produced the water, is because we have that confidence that the water has gone through some testing, certification. So our health, me and you, are protected. We didn't have to pay extra for the protection. It was inbuilt in the water production system. That is what accreditation does. It protects human health, protects environment, facilitates trade, and strengthens our economic development.
And I like the fact that you're giving a very vivid example here that, yes, this is water. And the reason why we are taking this water is because we know that this water has gone through various testing and it has been accredited fit for human consumption. So in a situation whereby this is not available, what happens?
In a system where it is not available, then you are consumers at risk. And when consumers are at risk of their health, it will cost the nation more to spend on health. Again, I go back to this water. If me and you were to drink this and catch cholera or any other disease, then we'll have to check into our hospitals. That is putting strains on the health investment of Kenya. So having the system in place reduces the cost of maintaining health of the people. It also reduces the cost of preserving our environment. It also reduces the cost of doing business in form of overhead. Because if this water is leaving Kenya to Uganda, for example, because it's made in Kenya and it has gone through these processes we're describing, reaching Uganda, it will not be requested or required to be tested again or to be certified again.
Very well. As we come to the end of this conversation, I also want to hear this from you. I mean, this is the first time an international accreditation conference is being held anywhere in the world. Kenya is the first country to host this kind of an event through a collaboration between international agencies like ILAC and GAC, together with Africa. What is the expected outcome of this meeting, and what is likely to be the way forward?
Just to emphasize what you have said, actually this is the first time that that accreditation community globally are gathering, not for meetings, not for events, celebrations, but to have a scientific discussion on the value of accreditation, the future of accreditation, and some innovative approach to accreditation. This is the first time globally, and we should be proud that it happened in the continent of Africa. We should be proud that it happened in Kenya. And I think Kenyans and government and people of Kenya should be proud that they have pulled this one through. Now, the reason why this is important is because over the years, historically, accreditation has been a quiet business. It happens behind the doors, and so people don't discuss it. And it could have professors, could have well-educated people with little or no knowledge on how accreditation affects their business, affects what they do. And so this conference, I am looking forward to this conference increasing the awareness of accreditation, both in the scientific community, in the academic community, in the industries and MSMEs, and also helping those of us who are practitioners to begin to think for the future of accreditation. That's what this meeting, this conversation is about.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed, Doctor, for joining us this morning and, of course, putting your words to power and, of course, helping us understand the importance of accreditation in Africa's socio-economic development. Your time is highly appreciated. Thank you very much indeed. Asante. Well, Dr. Celestine Okanya is the chair of Africa Accreditation Corporation, joining us this morning to help us here understand the role of accreditation in our socio-economic development as a country, as a continent, and the world. And he has emphasized that for any country to develop, it must have a proper accreditation and conformity assessment infrastructure in place. We're here at the first International Accreditation Conference, which is taking place here in Mombasa, bringing together more than 300 researchers, thought leaders, policymakers, and so on to discuss the concept of accreditation and how to drive this concept forward. Thank you very much indeed. We're taking you back to Broadcasting House. My name is O'Brien Kimani.
Thank you, Kimani, for that and for that engaging conversation. At least it gives us a better view and also understanding of what exactly is accreditation and adopting the best practices for product conformity. Remember, even KEBS, or Kenya Bureau of Standard, is one of the stakeholders in that. Brian, thank you so much for that. And on this second hour, we'll be looking at facilitating trade in the country, and I'll be hosting Dr. Mark Matunga, who is the President and CEO, Africa Center for Advanced Technology, and Daisy Odhiambo, who is the Business Development Manager at SETI Freight Supply Chain Solutions. That conversation in the next few minutes.
Who will care about legends? Who to use at the end of the club? But here he is, somebody who is concerned about welfare of the retired players.
I also made him aware about the challenges I was facing, which was my school fees arrears over my time. And he has paid for me now until now. I'm here now to complete my high school.
God sent an angel who is a Ohal. He came through. Tulikuwa mbaya sana, as in terms of to travel, hatuna hiyo, as in hiyo tracksuit ya travel.
What clicked is just finance.
Free treatment to the community. Here we associate it with bigger and bigger things.
Mbona mkaamua kuoana mapema hivi?
Ma, tumekuwa wapenzi kwa muda wa mwaka mmoja sasa.
Mwaka mmoja? Lakini mbona hujasema lolote?
Uliingiaje hapa?
Wataka kuwa jambazi?
La.
Basi usiniulize hilo swali.
Endelea nyanya. Nasikia kuwa kifagio kipya kufagia vyema kuliko kile cha zamani.
Mimi sishindani nawe.
Mlikuwa naye. Mbona hukumuua?
Ulikuwa unafanya nini hapo?
Breaking news. Hii utapenda.
Ni nini?
Hivi timbi ndo sipendi.
Kwani kwa home ni shida?
Hawa watu naogopa hapa, kila mtu ako na shida zake na siri zake.
Nyuma kuona Josh akiwa na stress hivi. Nitapoteza.
Na ndio maana unafaa kuwa strong.
Nimeachilia familia yangu ikatusiwa.
Utalia tena mama.
Nitagundu wakita.
Very well, welcome back. On the second hour, as I had mentioned earlier, is that we are talking about facilitating trade in many spheres, in tech specifically, and also in logistics. And joining me in studio, beginning from my immediate left, is Daisy Odhiambo, who is the Business Development Manager at Certified Supply Chain Solutions. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We haven't seen each other.
Yeah.
It's only a month to
I know.
2026.
Yes.
And also somebody else that I haven't seen this year is Dr. Mark Matunga, who is the President and CEO, Africa Center for Advanced Technology. Karibu sana, Doc.
Truth be told, we haven't met for over 3 years.
Are you
the
serious?
last time you hosted me was... But you're still young, so that's okay. That's what matters. You're still Gen G.
Still young, I'm in my mid-40s. But anyway, that's good. But the last time we were with you, we were talking about the late Magoha, I do remember. And I also saw you here talking about the late Raila Amolo Odinga, who the two of them, you had an opportunity to work
I'm not
with
here to talk about any late person
but
today.
I wanted us to clear the air, that,
Okay.
Because that's the last time that we were talking about.
Yes.
But before we went for that break, Daisy, something caught your eye in the Kenya National Accreditation Services.
True.
I will be very honest as a journalist. This is the first convention that they are holding in Mombasa. And yesterday was the first time I heard about Kenya National Accreditation Services. I've heard about KEBS and others, KNBS. I've heard of them, but I never heard about them on product conformity. Maybe you can just mention something you know about them in 1 minute.
So the Kenya National Accreditation Services, to put it in a layman's language, is the boss of KEBS, I could say that. So their work is to check all these other people who claim to be checking the standards. Are they doing the right thing? So all these other people include labs. So say you're taking your sample to whichever lab, they have to have been checked by Kenya National Accreditation Services to confirm that they can actually do these tests. That is their work. Of course, there is also the other part of the conformity assessment part, where they are working with people like the certification bodies. We are talking about ISO 9001 certifications. I'm sure that one you know of. And there's ISO 14001 for the environment. So they are there to check that these people who claim to be issuing these services are qualified to do that. Yes, that's it
I think that will help us, together with my director, Jackie Wasolo. We were in darkness, complete darkness yesterday, but she's talking to me here, she's laughing that at least now we can understand what exactly the convention is all about. And Doc, looking at now digitization, the last... I do a lot of research. That's something that I really love. And the last I saw you on social media, you are doing an interesting piece with a former colleague of mine, Jagelo, where you are talking about from Fangano to Microsoft. more or less technology. So every business will digitize in one way or the other, and especially MSMEs. I'm seeing MSMEs ensuring that they're also digitizing in one way or the other. Even the Pochi la Biashara is one way of digitizing a biz. So what tangible low-cost initiatives are in place to ensure small-scale traders can effectively access and benefit from the digital platforms?
So let me start with the bad news. The bad news is part of what you just mentioned, that nearly everyone, every service, every activity will actually have to benefit from the digital platform. And so if you're not there, you're going to be left out. And it's a bit too late now, especially when we're dealing with the issues of the new phenomena that everybody's talking about, new phenomena in tech industry. That's the artificial intelligence. And so it's going to require that nearly everyone, I don't think that even KEBS has come up with the standards, or Kenya National Qualification Accreditation. I don't think they even know what that is now, but that's a new phenomenon. So regardless of the size of your business, whether you're just basically an entrepreneur, whether you're a mama mboga or a boda boda, that's coming into play, and it's going to transform and change the way we do business. So digitization is actually coming in a new way that will be very, very, very interesting. And so that's the bad news that I'm basically bringing today. But the good news is that you don't have to do much, partly because artificial intelligence, as a technology itself, gets to do all that for you. And Troy, this is not to scare you that artificial intelligence is going to take your job. Artificial intelligence will not take your job. Artificial intelligence will enhance your productivity, will make you do your job better. And the reality is that we're going to get to a point whereby nearly every single human being on the planet is going to get a clone, a digital clone of themselves. I know it sounds like you're looking like me, looking at me like I'm from Pluto. It's going to be very soon. People who are in specialized areas like Daisy will find it very easy to actually, duplicate themselves and come up with an AI agent that can actually do exactly what she's able to do with her voice, with her demeanor, with a lot of data from her. And she can be sleeping a few more hours because actually her agent will be doing the work. We need Troy, because Troy has some special skills, some special demeanor. And what's going to happen with artificial intelligence, it basically just take your voice, take your data, take your image, take your everything. And actually, you can be creating shows, and KBC can be creating shows of Troy and be able to actually post, even if they're not running anything here. So it's not going to replace you, because Troy is Troy. There can never be any other Troy except a copy image of that extract from artificial intelligence. The same is going to apply to business. Small, micro size business will also find it a lot easier to actually now create what we would have considered as a website these days, or a Facebook account or whatever. All that's going to be generated using artificial intelligence. And our Mamboga can actually generate her own agent, and that agent can actually do her work, promote or market her business or his business across the entire globe, across the country. She can decide that, hey, I want to just be talking to business or Mboga buyers from Busia or from the locality, and that agent will actually be able to give you a number that you can always call. You call that number, your Mboga is delivered, or she takes orders from you. She knows that by the time she's waking up to actually go to the market, there's these many Mboga, many orders that I now have. I have to buy these many orders plus my chance customers, and then she will be able to actually do that from her phone, and her agent, her AI agent, can do that for her while she's still worrying about the kids go to school, whatever, assisting lazy husbands like you to actually get to work, get dressed well. Her agent will actually be doing that. So I'm a bearer of bad news in the sense that technology is taking over, and digitization, like the way you framed your question, is actually the way to go. But the good news is that it's going to actually create an ease of doing business, ease of trading, ease of growing, marketing, running, and growing your businesses. It also makes available services across the planet even more affordably. And the unfortunate thing is that technology has no reverse gear.
So Mama Mbogas and the border guys, they really need to also step up if you're in this industry as well, because we have also the border apps that were not there 5-10 years ago. But Daisy, I'm looking at, despite improvement, you're in logistics, and I'm looking at, despite improvement to Mombasa Port, there's still concerns regarding system downtime, delays in transport. What is the immediate plan? What would be the immediate plan to clear these physical and digital setbacks?
So if we look at where we've come from, compared to where we are right now, there's a lot of improvement. I mean, there was a time when we were joining the industry, I think that's when the 24 hours clearance was being done, and things like pre-arrival clearance were unheard of. I mean, right now where we are and where we are going, we are really embracing the pre-arrival clearance. We are using technology again, and the information that we have, the data that we have, you're able to clear, for example, if your vessel is still oncoming, you can just present all the papers and ensure that your paperwork is done, and by the time the vessel docks, your goods are ready to leave. So that's what we are really working towards, and there has been great improvement. Of course, there's system downtime. The system downtime, people say it's manufactured, people say it's not supposed to be like that. It only happens at the end of the month, but there's still great progress, and even where we are going is, I foresee a time when it's going to be plug and play. So it's just going to be a flow, and now that we are including a lot of developments in IT, there won't be a lot of human interaction. Doesn't mean that all those people are going to lose their jobs. It's just that now they're going to work better. Yes, so that's where we are going.
And in comparison, Kenya and the Dar es Salaam port, how are we doing in regards to that? Are we far much better? Are we far much advanced? Because at the end of the day, if they are better services, and then somebody might opt to bring in his or her own cargo through Dar es Salaam.
Through Dar es Salaam. So I wouldn't want to compare on who's better. I would want to look at it like we are complementing each other, because just recently there were issues in Tanzania we saw, but so the cargo was being diverted to Kenya. So there was some delay, of course, with the port operations in Kenya, but that means then that we are able to work together, and it's not that we are competing and saying Kenya is better and the work in Kenya is more efficient. But if we look at it holistically, we are good at complementing each other, as opposed to really just competing on who's doing better than the other. Yes, because even now, probably the port in Kenya is still handling some consignments that were supposed to go to Dar es Salaam, but have been rerouted because of the political issues that were there.
In Tanzania.
Yeah.
Mark, you have been an IT specialist for years, and I'm looking at single most critical policy gap that prevents Kenya's advancement into tech infrastructure for even small businesses and even big businesses.
So define years. 30 years? Is that a long time?
That's a long time.
Yeah, I've been around in this space for about 30 years. I'm 51 now, so you can imagine when I actually entered the industry. But even before I get to that, for me, policy is an outcome of a political situation. You know, earlier on we said that this is business conversation, nothing to do with politics. But that has to come in, because Daisy has said something. Why have we rerouted some of the cargo through Mombasa?
From Dar es Salaam to Mombasa.
Yeah, why have we rerouted that?
Political instability in Tanzania.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's crucial, because if the political manners is not handled well, it impacts everything, even before you get to policy. You just had the careless, let me call it careless comment from the neighboring president, who said, hey, we're a landlocked country. You're talking of the Indian Ocean. We also deserve to actually have part of that Indian Ocean. That is going to actually be the next issue that as a country we'll be dealing with. Because, even on social media now, people have started throwing messages that, hey, Ugandan military are in Busia, Daisy's home. I just saw that now. That already brings a lot of anxiety, even in business, creates a lot of instability. So even before you get to the policy situation, then that becomes a problem. But to answer your question, in the IT industry, there's this AFCFTA, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, that is supposed to create, borderless ways of actually doing business, the movement of goods and services. That has been around for how many years now? Almost 7 years or something like that. But really, really nothing is happening, because yes, you can go to, when you push your goods to Uganda, they're still going to have to attract some restrictions. Goods come from Uganda to Kenya, they're still going to. So when you're talking of policy, then that level playing ground need to be open. When you're in a place like North America today, you hear, and you don't have to be North America, anywhere in the world, today you hear tariffs. When you hear the word tariffs, you know that there's another name behind that, and that is Trump. And that impacts anything and everything. It impacts the cost of goods and services. It impacts what Kenya is actually able to export, import, whatever, and all of that kind of stuff. That is a political scenario that is impacting business. And so it doesn't matter even what policies you have. I mean, Kenya today has allowed visa-free movement of people. All African countries, you can actually come here without a visa. But are we allowed to go to any other country without a visa? Not yet. So again, that impacts business, because I might want to actually go and offer my IT services in Ghana or in another country, but I will still require business permit, I will still require visas, I'll still require all sorts of accreditations, like Daisy says, to actually be able to do business there. We just had a scenario in Tanzania that is even before the elections, whereby the president there also made some comments and said, we're not accepting any, if you're from Kenya and you're trying to do this, don't do it in Tanzania.
No, yes, the reserved jobs for the Tanzanians.
Yes. So as an IT service provider, then what do I do? Because part of my products are largely on the cloud or in the cloud. Safaricom now boasts as one of the, and we are proud of what Safaricom has grown to be, 50 million users. We're counting 50 million users. Why? Because of Ethiopia. If we didn't get into Ethiopia, because Kenya, we are what, 55 going to 60 million people? So, but remember, the adults are only about maybe 15, 20 million. So you really can't have that many subscribers unless you actually cross the border and go to another country. But Safaricom these days posts quite significant amount of profit. It's a very profitable company. Why? Because it's able to actually extend to other countries. So we're not walking the talk, partly because politics is not in tandem with trade, which actually impacts policy.
Daisy, still on the same, we'll be looking at visa-free, we'll also be looking at tariffs as well, how they do affect, because right now every country is holding their breath. US might decide to put some more barriers and some more tariffs as well. But let's come back to Kenya. Allow me to read this. The Kenya Bureau of Standard has invited manufacturers to submit feedback on a proposed 0.2% levy on all locally manufactured goods following the gazettement of the standardization to 2025 something.
Yeah.
How is it likely to affect business, and especially for those people who want to get into manufacturing? Because it's not only affecting those who are already in manufacturing, but it affects those who want to venture into manufacturing.
Okay, so I think to understand why this is coming, we need to approach it from the I'd say the end user. Okay, so the end user being the consumer. Right, so we want, for example, this water, and we want flavored water. Okay, we want the company that is manufacturing water to give us flavored water. And this water, you went to the US and then you tasted it, and you want this exact water, right? So you come up and you're like, okay, let's try and do this water and see how, let's manufacture this water. Then you realize you need to get a permit. You need to get a permit, you need to get an approval, you need to get all these things. And the people, for example, the standards people are the ones who are giving you these approvals. And then you would be like, but no, that's not fair, because I'm trying to do legit business. They are saying my water is not good enough. And the same, we complain like that. So what they are saying is, okay, for us to avoid, to not lock out your customer who wants this specific flavored water that they tasted in the US and it was good, what are we going to do? We are going to ask you manufacturers to help us develop these standards. I sound like I'm marketing for them. I'm not. I'm explaining why this has to happen. We are largely an importing country. So for us to move to be able to be a manufacturer, we have to develop what are the protocols that are required for you to make a very nice flavored water that you tasted in the US. Something else that has come recently, because we are very health conscious now, is people are using tallow, the tallow for beef, mafuta ya ng'ombe. So there are so many uses of tallow. Actually, you can use it in the cosmetic industry. So I saw this online and I want to try it in the country. So I mean, there's beef, I get the butcher and they give me the raw material, which is tallow, beef tallow. So I want to now sell it to the supermarket. Then you realize I cannot sell this product because it has to be regulated. Okay, is it regulated? No, it's not. Are the regulations there? No, they are not. So how are we going to develop these regulations? How are we going to be a manufacturing country if we don't have the regulations? And that's where this whole issue is coming about. The same thing, same principle would apply to the ban on importation of furniture. Yeah. Okay. The spirit of the ban is really good, because we are trying to protect our local industries and we want everybody to have jobs. So what happens to these people who import furniture? Are they going to just shut down? And are we saying that we now suddenly have the capacity to manufacture all types of furniture, and now suddenly yesterday we didn't have it and then today we have it? So for it to happen again, we have to develop policy, we have to have the systems in place, and unfortunately, someone has to pay the price, and in this case, then it's going to be the manufacturer. Yeah.
But it's going to pass the cost
to the end user. Yes.
The common mwananchi.
Exactly. And then the end user is still going to say, but we are not even moving as a country. We are trying to be like Singapore, and we are not being like Singapore. Yeah. But at some point, I think policy development, even though you engage everybody else, at some point it has to be pushed down your throat for it to work.
But this is going to bring the cost of even essential products to higher, make them higher.
Yes. So let's say the 0.2, the levy and all this, there's even the other one for extended producer responsibility. So even that one, say everything else comes and the cost of the product goes high. And then 10 years from now, like what we are doing now is we are saying, but into the year 2000 and whatever, when the importation of motorbikes was now made easier for people, it now encouraged people, it gave people jobs, but now when it was happening, everybody was still complaining. So we will still complain, but I think policy has to be pushed down people's throats at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, let's wait and hear, because KEBS had already sent out more or less like emissaries to just test the waters and see whether that, but that will definitely bring the cost of essential commodities up. I'm looking at Kenya being the regional hub, IT hub. And in Africa, we rank quite highly. But how do we balance the need for cross-border data flows for efficient trade with growing concerns about data protection and security? You do remember after the signing of the data bill to law, it brought about a lot of traction in the country. Mark?
The story of data will remain a mystery to many and for a long time. Because, Troy, you have a Gmail account.
Yes.
From where you sit, you can send me an email right now.
Yeah.
Do you think that email will just come from your phone to my phone?
No.
What will happen?
We'll go to some servers and then they transfer it back to your phone.
Exactly. A lot of us post things on Facebook. Where does Facebook sit?
Meta in US.
You know, so the mystery around the data will never be answered in our lifetime. And the cross-border conversation will not. I mean, I think we're just talking about data just because, you know, it's a sexy thing to talk about, and we talk about data sovereignty and all of that kind of stuff. Because even a lot of these regulators, nearly all of these regulators, they use these platforms to actually communicate. They use WhatsApp, they use Gmail, they use other emails.
Every small business now is even on Facebook, on Twitter.
Exactly. Yeah. So even the conversation of cross-border, because at what point do you know that, okay, fine, now this data is now crossing this border and going to another country. So for me, it's I don't know whether I would say it's a misnomer or an oxymoron to actually keep talking about, data from this country to that country. The only thing that actually should be happening around the data conversation when it comes to really the speed and availability of that information, of that service, which actually would make sense, not beyond the conversation, not the conversation about the data sovereignty, but it's about speed. So then it makes sense that actually we have a data center that sits here in Kenya, so that if I want to actually access certain information, I can get it. I don't have to actually go to the cloud to another country that will take time for actually this prompt to hit all those data centers or hit all those servers and actually come to me. Then it then becomes easier because we are here. I'm using the infrastructure that sits in Kenya. Then it becomes easier and quicker, of course, much faster to actually access that data. But until we understand that we live in a technological global village, this debate about data, and I can say it with sufficient authority that even if you're a data protection officer, you're basically just earning money, not doing really much. Because a lot of our data, we have already posted there. The moment you are, and this from a technical perspective, the moment you are accessing the internet, you've already opened up yourself to the whole world. At that point, your data is not even sitting in your country. At that point, your data is sitting elsewhere.
That would pose a major challenge because a number of Kenyans even own businesses, including yourself. I'm quite sure you have a branch outside the country.
It doesn't matter where my business is. I do quite a bit of work in New York. But the moment I get online, that very moment, my data is not sitting with me. We would like to appear like, hey, yes, my data sits in Kenya whatever, it's covered by the laws of Kenya, but it's just for feel good, because the major internet servers are not sitting in Kenya. By the time you send me an email, I can tell you that that email, from where you're sitting to where I'm sitting, that email will touch at least 7 servers before it gets to me. It can get here in like 1 second, but it shall have touched 7 servers. And you need to remember that actually the email that I'm finally receiving is a copy of the original email that you drafted. What does that mean? It then also means that that email actually is, there are 7 copies of that email in the 7 servers that are not sitting here with me or with you in Kenya, which is why in cybersecurity we talk about forensics audit. So you can delete the email. You can tell me, hey, Mark, delete that email. I don't want that email to appear. But when there's need to actually do a forensics audit, we will still find that email. Remember, you have deleted it from your device. I've also deleted it from my device. But I remember I told you that it has touched about 7 servers. That therefore means that if we actually go in to do what we call forensic audit, that is how that email will feature. But he said, no, but Mark deleted it and I deleted it. That's fine. It's only that the moment you actually sent that email, it touched several servers. And the moment it touches that server, the instruction to that server is, hey, send a copy of this to the next server and send it to the next server and back to Kenya for Mark Matunga to actually receive it on his device and be able to actually read it from that point. So the conversation around data and data sovereignty and issues of trade, data flow, and all of that really can never come up as something that actually stifles business or stifles trade. Because, you know, and a lot of these platforms from where we buy things, I'm fairly very lazy on that. So even yesterday I ordered for some lunch through a friend, let me say an assistant. She bought that lunch, I don't know from which company, I mean from which restaurant. But that information alone, we are in the same office. She's buying lunch from a restaurant and it's being ordered and being delivered here, coming by Uber, which doesn't sit here in Kenya. So Uber already knows that there's a Mark Matunga or there's so-and-so, a Daisy who has ordered this chicken from this place, it's being delivered there. Where is that data sitting? But what did I benefit? No, I mean, within 15 minutes, I actually had my lunch. But the data trail of actually having that lunch basically went to I don't know how many countries before, and that information is already out there.
A big challenge, at least for now, and especially for developing countries like us, to ensure that even our data, both in business and also in personal life, is protected as well.
It is protected in a fancy way in our mind, because that data is already out there. I mean, that is why I'm being a pessimist here in the conversation around data.
Okay.
We're just talking about data because we want to feel good that our data is protected. But the moment you actually go online, you're naked before the world.
All right.
That's just the reality.
Daisy, I'm looking at the visa-free policy that Kenya now has adopted, and many say that, of course, it can enhance business and trade. And of course, on the other side, we might hear issues of cyber crime that we have seen, especially from the eastern side of Asia, or even drugs and stuff. How can visa-free policy ensure that we do business and do business alone?
So it's interesting on the access. So the visa-free policy, we say then it brings in the labor force, right? So it brings in other people who are talented. And so we have new, bigger companies. We have this bank, is it JP Morgan? I think they're setting up, or they set up in the country, and all these big people, Microsoft and Google and whatever. and of course they are able to come and it's visa free, and you come and you work here in Kenya. At the same time, I think I saw this last week, that there is a multinational should hire 60% locals, something like that. I need to confirm. So is it visa free to this extent, or is it visa free only for when they're trying to come to Masai Mara and all that? Still, it's a good thing because the market continues to grow. It's good to have a big market and for consumers to also access all these new products and everything. So when we have new people coming into the market grows. We have a new branch of KFC, we have China Square coming in, and so it's still good for business because you have extended now your customer base. But is it visa free to? Okay, it's visa free to what extent? I think that's the question, because on this side, there's visa free. Then on this side, your expatriates can only be 60%. Then on the other side, UN is moving its offices to Nairobi. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, but Mark, still on the same Africa Continental Free Trade Area, we also have the COMESA. But unfortunately, tariffs are also making doing business a little bit difficult. How can we eradicate these tariff barriers? We have the East Africa community. We don't do each and every trade that we are supposed to do. There are some things that have tariffs, others don't. COMESA, we have Africa Continental Free Trade Area. How can we ensure that we totally benefit from these institutions as a region, just like the way we have benefited as an East Africa community?
Well, for me, the word tariff is just another word for tax. So, I mean, at international level, we call them tariffs, but really, in my view, those are taxes. And it depends on each and every country's flavor. Again, their policies, trade policies and all of that are not necessarily common across all borders. So each country has its ways of actually imposing taxes, international taxes, and that's what we call tariffs. That one protects their economy, protects their country, but two helps grow their economy. In other words, if they can actually be able to extract more value from their goods and services that are actually crossing borders. I don't think that, again, it's not a question that we're going to be able to actually fully answer and appreciate, because every single country still wants to actually be able to extract a lot more value from these goods and services that they actually offer. And the sufferer here will end up being the consumer, because tariffs are not going to go away, not on everything. Even when we're talking, like Daisy was saying, when we're talking about visa-free, visa-free, again, might mean different things to different people, because you still actually have to pay for the visa. Or all I think that is being said is that you're allowed to, you will not be denied the visa. You pay for it. I think it's called, is it ETA or something? You still pay for it, one way or the other. But that is just to encourage at least more tourism, more trade for us as a country, because that means that there'll be more people coming, given that there's ease of doing business, and that's a revenue stream for Kenya. But then, when goods are coming in, the taxes that are going to be applied on those goods, for me, just using the layman's language, are basically what we call tariffs. But those are not going to be going away any time soon, even with EFTA or AFTA, because no, I think it's called AFICTA. Even with AFICTA, that's not going to go away anytime soon. It's just basically to encourage that as neighboring countries, we should be doing more business with each other. But then it is, okay, you apply tariff on this, this much, and we also apply tariff on this much. But there will be no scenario or situation whereby the issue of tariff goes away. So when you're venturing into business, you just need to know that cost of doing business includes taxes at local level, local country level, and internationally across borders, tariffs.
And still on cost of doing business, the non-tariff barriers are actually killing the regional trade. How do we eliminate them? And how do we make the business environment a little bit conducive for even the small scales, the MSMEs?
So to go back first on the tariffs issue, so it should not be eliminated per se, but like if you're saying in the East African region we have the common tariffs, it's sometimes not common. The idea is if you're paying 60% for product X in Kenya, then for it to be competitive in Uganda, it should also just be 60%.
Apologies, I'm informed that we're having issues with your microphone, but I've got to be checked in as much. So maybe Mark, you can pick up that question, Doc, and tell us what are some of the ways that we can ensure that there is a conducive business
to handle that question.
No. You're also in the business in the business sector. My question is, how do we make ease of doing business in Kenya?
Troy, there is an area of business that is growing, and it's growing big. That is the creatives. Okay, that is the creative industry. It is growing and growing big. Is my mic also a problem?
Yeah. No, yours is okay. Yours is okay.
It's growing and growing big.
The creative industry.
Creative industry, and so. Come to my Facebook page, you'll find about 51,000 people who are on there. I think Kenyans are maybe about 50% of that. The rest of them are from other countries. Okay? So if I was to do business with them, they would call me for consultancies. If I can post something, hey, you know, I'm an AI expert. We're basically building mini models. Somebody's going to reach out to me and say, hey, you know what, can you do this for me? Just taking that assignment alone, I can do a product for them, spin it out, post it to them. Whether there is tariffs or not, the situation is going to arise when they now have to actually pay me for the service. Do I want to be paid here in Kenya? Yes. I want my money to come here in Kenya, which means that I'm going to have to actually raise an invoice to that person. Because if there is no that trail, then money can come to my account, and you just know those friends of Daisy, KRA, will start sniffing around and wondering. So you're still going to get caught. But I think the challenge is that then how do you apply a tariff on that, or how do you apply whatever sort of applicable taxes on that kind of a service that I offer. So yes, the answer to your question is that, you know, tariffs are still going to actually impact our business one way or the other. But I see that they're here to stay, and any effort to actually try and remove them will never happen.
All right.
At least not in my lifetime, and I don't think I have too many years left. Okay. I'm 51 now.
Daisy.
Maybe for Daisy and you.
How do we non-tariff barriers, just like you said, it's not quite elimination, but for the East African region, because I'm also looking at how we can ensure that in as much as we are in COMESA, we are in Africa Free Trade Area, we want to keep it at home as well. And the ease of doing business in Kenya, because it's something that always crops up when somebody wants to do business, especially for the small and micro, somebody who has not established himself quite well.
So they're not actually, because the tariff barriers, so your taxes, we have accepted and said they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So the issue of the non-tariff barriers, and one of them, actually the one that I interact with a lot, is on product conformity and conformity assessment. So how is the customer able to do business in Kenya, and yet their product does not meet, for example, what is required in Kenya. So I would honestly think that at some point there's SMEs and everybody else has to be involved for it to stop being a problem of the other people, because that's the issue that I see a lot. Everybody thinks it's everybody else's problem until it becomes your problem. So you have found this nice water that you saw it when you went to Fiji, and now you want to bring it here, and then you realize your water cannot be sold. But all along it was not your problem until you want to sell that water here. So one of the biggest way to maybe eliminate the non-tariff barrier is to have the small players also just take part in the policy development and to be part of the decision makers. And I really try and sing this song to the partners that I work with, that let you get involved in policy making. So if you want your nice water to be sold in Kenya, be the person who's going out there to the policy maker and say, I want this specific water to be sold in the country. So it stops being someone else's problem, it stops being the government problem, it becomes the trader's problem.
All right. Mark, I'm informed that we are running out of time. I would like to pick your mind on your final comments in regards of how we facilitate trade in the country and make it easy for even those who are starting out.
It is the original question that you started with. I mean, let us just basically digitalize to the extent that we can. Adapt to emerging technologies. That's going to basically ease trade and be able to promote business growth. And so for me, number one is technology, number two is technology, number three, unfortunately, is technology.
I'm informed that the head of public service, Felix Koskei, is currently hosting consultative engagement with regard to fact-finding self-assessment tools submitted by public entities and providing services to the public directly. And as you can see, one of the head of delivery units for the head of state, Eliud Owalo, is currently addressing. Let's first of all listen.
And we look forward to working with all of you. But the implication of these good people is that we have to re-engineer our processes within the organizations. We cannot continue with business as usual. We need to re-engineer the processes to facilitate efficiency, effectiveness, and optimal utilization of resources within the public sector. It does not mean spending less. That is not what efficiency refers to, but it means we create value for money. There has to be value for money. We must ensure that we have optimal utilization of the resources that we have at our disposal, because those resources are scarce. And if that is the case, let me mention that we are not going to tolerate bad governance in the public sector. We are going to work together with you people in this. We are going to ensure that we seal all the revenue leakages. And that is why automation of government services, starting with the procurement services itself, is imperative. It's imperative. We must leverage on technology to enhance efficiency, effectiveness, and seal out all the revenue leakages. Let me just give you a case in point. When the fifth administration came into being, we used to collect on average about 60 billion shillings every day. Today, on a good day, we are collecting up to 900 to 1 billion shillings on a daily basis. The sources of revenue remain the same. The people in the government remain the same. Yet the revenue levels have gone up. That clearly shows you that we were losing a lot of money courtesy of manual processes. So just to augment what the CS Cyril has talked about, the issue of e-procurement is irreversible. So we all have to align to it. The government is not going to reverse e-procurement, and the government is not going to operate anymore on manual processes. So those parastatals or state-owned enterprises which are still operating in certain facets of manual operations, please make sure that all our processes are automated. Now, as we talk about performance, let's also tie it to reward management. And the chairman and board members need to help us on this so that within the state-owned enterprises of parastatals, we tie reward to performance. You cannot have a situation where everybody is waiting for the end of the month to earn a salary. We must go a notch higher and ensure that there is some reward management framework which is tied to performance. So introduce bonus schemes in your organization so that those who work harder earn more. Those who perform poorly earn less. People should be rewarded to a level commensurate with their contributing component within government. Now, as we introduce change, we must lead from the front. We cannot be introducing change, yet we have CEOs doubting the change, or not leading from the front, or telling your people, your staff, that please let's just try, but from where I sit as a CEO, I doubt if this change can work. That means you are actually living on borrowed time. You are living on borrowed time. You should not actually be heading those organizations if you are the ones doubting if change can take place. Otherwise, we look forward to working with you people in engineering operations in the public service. When it comes to delivery, somebody mentioned it here. Our speaker mentioned it a while ago. Let us communicate what we are doing to the wider public. We go out there to inspect projects. At times when we mention to the various stakeholders about the implementing agencies, they have never even heard about your organizations. They don't know the mandate of your organization. So please let us communicate what our organizations are doing. Let us automate our monitoring and evaluation mechanism so that at the press of a button, you are able to ascertain with a reasonable level of veracity the implementation status of all the programs and activities that you are implementing. With those many remarks, it's my distinguished honor and privilege to invite the head of the public service to address the gathering. Let's all be upstanding.
Thank you. We can have our seats. Thank you, Eliud. Thank you, Cyril and Rono and Dr. Imbunya. Chairpersons of the institutions that are present here, chief executive officers of different parastatals, public officers that are with us, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I hope it is still morning. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I want to give special recognition to men and women who have worked in various institutions in different capacities. Some have been speakers, some have been governors, some have been PSS, some have been members of parliament, some are bishops. Some are long-serving public servants. Where are the former speakers who are here? I saw one, Ekwe. Ekwe is here. Clap for Ekwe Waturo. He has been a speaker. And now he's the chairman of Higher Education Loans Board. I hope I can still remember. The governors present, may they stand up? I saw Mrutu, I saw Dado, I saw Kiptis, I saw Ragwa, I can see Kidero here. I saw Kiraitu Murungi there. Clap for them. I see Langanyapuo. We have quite a number of former governors present, Your Excellencies. PSS that have served before. Sima Abub is here. We have one way is Ismail. I can see that is Maina Cyrus there. Makofi kwao. Members of Parliament that are here, former members of Parliament, can see Olago, Chansu, I don't know what are your names. Ago is there. Nyambati and somebody there. Makofi kwao. Their bishops don't retire. They are bishops who must be here. We have Bishop Mairori there. We have Bishop who? The Uri of Adak. KNLS. And there is one from Adak chair. Makofi kwao. So you see, we are full house. We have all the skills, right, from the spiritual end to the top corporate leadership, and therefore we are in a good position to take off as a country. So we meet this afternoon for a consultative engagement of high national importance. This meeting, the first of its kind, focusing on government-owned entities and executive agencies, goes beyond a routine and a ceremonial convening. It is a deliberate, strategic, and results-oriented interventions in our continuing journey towards a public service that is efficient, accountable, and fully aligned to the governance renewal agenda of this administration. The leadership represented in this room forms the operational backbone of government. You are the institutions through which the state is felt, seen, experienced, and judged by citizens. And that is why when the citizens say, Serikali haifanyi kazi, it is you. Because that is where the state is felt, that is where the state is seen, that is where the state is experienced, and that is where the state is just judged by the citizens. Whether online, as service counters, or in field operations, you are the human and institutional face of government. The performance of each entity represented here is, in truth, the performance of government itself. Across the breadth of our public institutions, the evidence gathered from the self-assessment tool administered by my office revealed both commendable progress and persistent weaknesses. The exercise was not intended to indict, but to illuminate and provide a factual mirror through which we may confront the realities of our governance architecture. We continue to encounter recurring governance challenges that cut across sector ranging. One is delays in decision-making and unresponsiveness to the needs of citizens, significant financial losses, prolonged turnaround times to public inquiries, and the persistent failure to resolve complaints effectively. These gaps undermine and erode institutional credibility. It obstructs the full realization of our national development aspirations and also have understandably eroded public trust and confidence. Aside from undertaking numerous reform initiatives such as the launch of the Zero-Fault Audit Program, which promotes the prudent, effective use and management of public resources, and the focused efforts to improve institutional performance through prompt corrective action and the administration of lawful and proportionate consequences for infractions in the public service, it has become necessary to introduce a targeted program for our corporations. It is for this reason that government has developed a comprehensive program for revitalizing and re-energizing government-owned enterprises and executive agencies, such as was successfully implemented for regulatory authorities and agencies. That early intervention, which targeted regulatory agencies, has already begun to yield visible fruits. and we can see improvements in compliance, operational performance, and responsiveness, demonstrating that focused reform and discipline oversight deliver tangible results. I want to say that we have seen truly so an improvement in the regulatory space. Institutions like NEMA now are working fearlessly. Institutions like NCA, National Construction Authority, we can see that they are working without any fear. Institutions like NACADA, can see them moving swiftly to take charge and bring order in their space. We are seeing fruits of these engagements. So we are done with RAS, it is now rolling, and that is why we are now with government-owned enterprises that are commercial in nature, and also institutions that are departments in government called executive agencies that provide services. We are talking about institutions like immigration, institutions like NTSA, institutions like National Registration Bureau, and others that have direct citizen interface with government. That is a focus that we have, because that is where the citizens gauge government, the citizens comment about government because of service delivery that these institutions always does. So central to this program is the imperative of premier service delivery to Kenyans. We want to see a service, public service delivery at that level of corporate. There is nothing that stops us from service delivery equivalent to Safaricom, for example, with banks, for example. It may not even need money, but perhaps it requires change of attitude, focus, proper oversight, and also putting in place mechanisms that are self-regulating and makes everybody work towards offering premier service. So it is not about money that we need to start from the resources that we have. We are starting from zero. We want to start from the resources. What are you going to do as we live here today with your staff down there? How do you reorganize them to serve the people well? How do you cut costs, unnecessary costs? How do you do the reporting in a proper manner? How do you project the image of your institution and by extension government so that the people can say, yes, the government is performing? Simply put, we may need not have to run to treasury now. We may run to treasury later. So that is what we feel is the way to go as we are beginning this journey of turning around the image of government, starting from yourselves. So service delivery must be the defining measure of government effectiveness and the foundation of public trust. Every resource, every decision, and every action under this program must ultimately translate into tangible benefits for citizens. We all know that executive agencies are the state corporation through which the government delivers services directly or indirectly to the public. You are the human and institutional face of government, whether citizens meet you at service counters, through digital platforms, or in the field. The experience that citizens have with you or with your institutions shapes their perceptions of government as a whole. Yet, we continue to see practices that make our nation appear as a typical third world country, even as we aspire to move towards a developed nation, as the President has always emphasized. So what we are saying is simple, ladies and gentlemen. There has been, and you can observe, all of you are customers of one of one or the other institution. You walk there, you get shocked. People even don't care to even understand what you want. People are busy eating mandazis in their rooms, in their cubicles, while people are queuing. There is no human feel in these customers. People don't bother. You can, the service provider like Kenya Power and other institutions, one may call 10 times saying, my power is down, the pole that is near my place is down. They tell you they're coming tomorrow at 10. They don't know whether you have a sick person in the house who needs a fridge to keep some medicines that should be under 0 degrees that can be injected perhaps every 3-4 hours. They don't give a damn. What we are saying is that the citizen is the king. We need to be responsive and we need to act with the resources that we have now before we go looking for more resources. So across the sectors where executive agencies operate, there are recurring failures that compromise the citizens' experiences of government services. This is good but not limited to. Number one is excessive queues at service points, causing unnecessary delays and frustration. System breakdowns or downtime that prevent citizens from accessing online or digital services. Sometimes we put a lot of pressure, we put in a lot of money to come up with technology. But people don't service it. Sometimes when they are not, the people don't attend to it. And sometimes when people are reluctant even to learn on how to use. So it becomes zero-sum. Others are resisting it because it creates more transparent than before. These are simple things that we are talking about. We are not talking about complicated things. The other issue is years-long delays in receiving feedback or documents that citizens have already paid for. Even feedback alone, you send whatever, if it is e-citizen or whatever, there is no reply. There is no even automatic generated something that says, just wait, in an hour's time, you'll be attended to. Nothing. You write a letter, it takes forever. There is no response. You send an email, nobody responds, whether positive or negative. These are the things that we are talking about. We want to change and we become responsive. We have not been offering timely alternatives or solutions. If what the citizen wants is not possible, have you given them an alternative? You know that is the issue. Have you given them a solution of some sort, even if it is at his cost? So you find that lack of timely alternatives or solutions when problems arise leave citizens without any recourse. That is why people can even walk out and demonstrate. People become angry, and if you ask them what is the problem, they don't even know exactly what it is because they have been disappointed so many times that they are just angry. They want to fight somebody. They want to break some window. They want to paralyze something because of frustration that people have. It is a serious matter. Sometimes you see demonstrations here, uprisings, violence. If you really sit down and try to drill, to get it to understand, it may not be big things. It may be these frustrations here and there. Even if you go to a roundabout, the policeman stops you for inordinately long time, 5-7 minutes, and he's on phone. He has forgotten that he has stopped one side for that long, and there's nothing you can do. People get frustrated, they get annoyed, they transfer even their madness to their offices. So these are the things that we are saying we need to change. It does not require any money. It has to change. Another thing is inadequate communication about processes. People don't understand. They don't even know timelines. They don't even know requirements that is needed for the service to be completed. They are not even aware. So the elite citizens are uninformed. And every time when we are out there, especially politicians, they say, nyinyi ndio wadosi wetu. And yet they are not getting anything. They not get even any information. What do they expect them to do? To be angry. To hate government. To hate the institution. And to demand for alternative solutions that sometimes they always demand violently. So let us go back and offer citizen-centric services. Let us behave and work around our citizens so that they get value for money and they get their services quick as possible. So, ladies and gentlemen, these failures are unacceptable. Executive agencies must demonstrate responsiveness, and we are asking responsiveness. They must demonstrate efficiency and accountability in every interaction, ensuring that citizens experience government as capable, professional, and service-oriented. That is what a citizen expects. If he walks to your institution, he needs to leave saying, I did not get what I wanted, but these people are capable, they are professional, and they are service-oriented. They are not their bosses. They are not bossy. They don't disappear. They are there to confront the challenges that the citizens are bringing. Therefore, your core mandate is to provide services that are timely, efficient, and responsive to the needs of Kenyans. You must therefore communicate proactively with the public, informing them of what is happening within your space and offering practical alternatives whenever challenges or constraints arise. Silence or lack of information is no longer acceptable. Citizens must be aware and engaged in the processes that affects them. If your system is down, why don't you issue an alert? Simply put, why don't you put 411? How much is it? Why don't you just send to a media house to say, our services are down, in 2 hours we shall be up. We apologize for any inconvenience caused. Simply put. If students apply for help, if you don't have money from a checker, you say, we are processing resources, we are waiting, give us 2 weeks. Is it difficult? Does it require money? So the public service has been degenerating until they don't care attitude. They don't mind, they work for salary. So long as the salary is still coming, they don't bother. They have forgotten their boss, they have forgotten the citizen that they are serving. What we are saying, let us go back and do what we were expected to do. Following that, we need also to ask ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, why were our institutions created? Because when Parliament passes a bill, or when executive generates a bill to create an institution, they have justification. There's a gap they need to fill. So if you are not filling that gap, whom are you expecting to fill that gap? So these are the issues that we are saying, and we are saying, all of us, if we resolve today and say, let us go and turn around our institutions, only attitude, we shall change the perception and we shall instill confidence in the people that we are serving. Financial and operational accountability must be visible, auditable, and demonstrable. That is why when we say EGP, people resist because they want processes that are not visible. that are not auditable and not demonstrable. They want to receive some goods from a supplier and then they start backdating the tender, they backdate the LPO, many terrible things. Every resource entrusted to you must be tracked and applied in ways that strengthen service delivery. That is what we are saying. The Auditor General opinion must reflect prudent and lawful use of public resources. Internal mechanisms must exist to monitor performance, ensure compliance, and correct deviations. Internal mechanisms, the board, what is it doing? The audit committee, what is its role? The internal audit, what is the head of procurement doing? Is he oversighting and making sure things are correct? The whole ecosystem in the institution should function, and we shall have a seamless service delivery that Kenyans will not complain at all. So, ladies and gentlemen, executive agency must remain system-focused above all. While internal revenue generation is encouraged where appropriate, it must always support and enhance your primary public service mandate, not distract from it. Your success will be measured by the quality, accessibility, and the impact of services provided to the public. Ultimately, every executive agency must be seen, experienced, must be seen. You must be seen. People should even talk about you. They know you, that you are a good institution, you offer services. You must be seen as an experienced institution. Your staff should be people who understand their staff. And you must be seen to be recognizing citizens. And also citizens at the same time must see you as responsive, as capable, and also service-oriented, reflecting the professionalism and integrity of government in every interaction. Simply put, nothing much. For government-owned enterprises, we expect them to operate, because you're operating in a commercial and productive domain of the state. We expect you to operate, behave, act, have a posture of a commercial entity. And former governor say that we have tied them. We let them free. We agree, we free you. The problem is that when you are let and given freedom, you go and steal and run down institutions. That's the problem. Ladies and gentlemen, and you have worked in governments, governors are here, CEOs are here, and everybody. There is no issuance of a memo or a circular with no other reason. When you are told, don't do this, it has been reviewed, analyzed that there is a lot of challenges here. So block them, because they are no longer human beings, they are like goats. So you need to put some barrier, because now they are no longer using their common sense. That is why there are so many circulars, because people have decided not to work, but to plunder and to mess up government resources. Unfortunately so. And they are very bold. Some of them are here, very bold. They even backdated the board meeting dates, forgetting that we have an inspector in the office and we have intelligence in this country. Some even sent minutes to former chairman, so that the resolution seems to have been done last year. Of course at a cost, because the chairman there at home will say, nitasai namna gani sasa nitapata nini. These things happen. Say, I'm saying the truth. For those who have even gone to Minister of Lands, perhaps they want to transfer land that he has bought legitimately. So ukifika huko unaambiwa iko mara mbili, unataka kungojea board ya next board ni February, lakini kuna njia nyingine, ukilipa hii utapata tu saa hii. And then what do? They want backdate and insert in between some minutes, and they share the money. That is avoiding efficiency. That is shocking. You just avoid. You don't want to be efficient, so you create some alternative ways of sorting it out, and that is what breeds corruption. So, commercial entities, you are the custodians of public capital, and your performance directly affects national productivity, employment, and fiscal stability. And you know that. Your mission is sustainability and profitability. You must use your wherewithal and ingenuity to increase revenues. In these monopolies, why can't you do it? Why do you post losses? So going forward, we need to see demonstrable profitability. You must adopt best practices in corporate governance, commercial strategy, and operations, benchmark against peers. Deploy modern management techniques and pursue innovative revenue streams that are consistent with your mandate. Operate with the discipline of the market and the integrity of the public sector. Very blue, those days, Kenyan had reached a level, Kenyan, Kenya Power, Kenya Re, Kenya Pipeline, they were blue chip 15, 20 years ago, isn't it so? Where are they now? They transact, you get their managers transacting business along the streets. They were blue chip. You could walk to Kenya Pipeline and you will not believe that it was a government institution. Same case to these others. But where are they now? Going down. Kenya Re is almost closing. It's because of corruption, because of incompetence, and many other things that we want all of us to change. It's also evident that some government-owned entities are laden with debt and have incurred consistent financial losses, even in sectors where they operate as monopolies, as I've said, or oligopolies. To a large extent, this is a reflection of institutional failure, unwillingness to innovate, reliance on archaic practices, and resistance to necessary change. In other cases, these losses are direct consequences of greed and corruption, which ultimately stifle the institution's ability to fulfill their mandate and deliver value to the public. Such outcomes are unacceptable and must be addressed decisively. And also one must ask, and you need to ask yourself, why is it that some institutions operating at par with government-owned entities or in comparable sectors are generating profits while certain GOEs continue to fail in revenue generation? Why, you ask yourself. And that brings me to Honorable Kiraitu Murungi's institution. It was among the blue chip, if you can remember, National Oil. But when they started being influenced to put petrol station in areas, even the vehicles, where the vehicle don't pass, it's only pikipikis, and investing 40 million in a petrol station that nobody comes. Politicians coming there and influencing them to go and construct a petrol station for them in some corner for purposes of having a posture in the constituency for more votes. There are no vehicles. What do you expect? I mean, the overheads totally outweighs the revenue. So issues of weak management, lack of innovation, resistance to change, and in some cases greed and corruption is what we are seeing. So you must learn how to improve these things. So as I wind up, ladies and gentlemen, the president has spoken. He has said, you have been led free to run the institutions that you are running. And there are no sacred cows in your institution. You have to straighten the boards. You have to take charge. The management, you have to take charge. If somebody is misusing resources in your institution, take action. If vacancies arises and you want to employ the best, get the best brains. Get the brains that will come and help the institution. Not a relative, not a tribesman, not a potential chief campaigner for you back at home. You hire somebody who will come and bring a difference in the institution. And it is very clear now that we are now heading to transformation. And we want all of us to be in that ship. We want all of us to be part of this process. We want all of us to support government in transforming this country. And I always say government is us here. There is no any other government. We want all of you, first of all, to play and operate according to the laws that established you. In full, apply it in full. Look at the circulars, look at the manuals, the statutes, and operate in a manner that was provided for, first of all. Before even you ask for additional space, let us make these institutions efficient. Let us make the citizens be satisfied with the services we are offering. Let us also ensure that we take this privilege of being in offices that we have now to make a difference. Yeah, at least. That is why we called you here. That, ladies and gentlemen, let us work together. Let us move. We've complained of inefficiencies. We've complained of corruption. We've complained of several infractions. I think the government has laid it bare. We are starting to do cleanup, and I would want the board to take charge. Anybody who is not operating in line with the requirements of the institution has to be separated. We have started. We have invited several CEOs to resign, and they have resigned. We are continuing to invite. We have disbanded boards. We have done our best. We came up with the terms of and conditions of service for you people. Somebody rushed to court. Because we understand that there are certain things that we need to do for people to settle and also apply their minds fully. We are not going to relent. We are going to pursue the matter in the Court of Appeal to see whether we can salvage the document which was bringing up the oversight bodies in a position that they were able to do it. But otherwise, I want us to go back to our institutions. First, when we reach home, we must prioritize discussions on enhancing the visibility of our mandates as per the established statutes, ensuring clarity and transparency in the mandates of your institution. Let even the staff, let even the board members, sometimes board members just arrive and they don't, up to now, they have done 2-3 years and they don't even understand the mandate of their institutions. When they are in Naivasha with Ndemuli, all what they want sometimes, they want only the per diem and that is all. So let us understand first, why are we here? Why do we have NOC? Why do we have Wujuan? So what is the mandate? From there, I'm sure you will now try to draw a roadmap. Let us scrutinize the governance structures within our institutions to uphold principles of accountability and integrity. Let's see the governance structure. If we don't understand what is governance structure, let us call Waru here, Ndemuli, even Attorney General, to take you through to understand what are governance structures around an institution. So that we uphold accountability and integrity in the system. Let us understand what we have first. And let us refine what we have. More important, let us foster meaningful engagement with members of the public. Let us be seen. Let us be felt. Let the citizens know that you are there. And let us engage them. It is a lot useful to engage the citizens that we are serving in furtherance of our service to them. Finally, let us share best practices through peer learning. And we have an experience. When we brought all the regulatory authorities together, they started talking, and we can see improvement all over, and they communicate. What do we do like here? What do we do in the other side? How do we do? And we are seeing a lot of traction. Let us be one as GOEs, be one as executive agencies, and let us share best practices and improve the service delivery at your place. So we want you to get back to real work, ladies and gentlemen. Refresh yourself with the law, the powers you hold, the organization you have, and deliver on your mandate without further reference. Divest your priorities from all other distractions that seem to have taken over your time when the citizens that you are supposed to serve are suffering. You have the law to support your actions. Where the law has created challenges, bring them to the attention of your peers, legislative and parliamentary affairs, through, of course, your line ministry, and let them be sorted. In the meantime, where you have overlaps, please synergize. Plan together, budget together, prepare work plans together, execute together, monitor, and report together. Ladies and gentlemen, we must shift from our comfort zones. We cannot be subservient to a legacy or a tradition that negatively affects transformation. The time for action is now. We must shake things up, eliminate lethargy, and start seeing results immediately. These are called to leadership, discipline, and unwavering commitment, because the citizens of Kenya deserves nothing less. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to seeing the fruits of the continued implementation of these worthy initiatives. And therefore, as I close, people are wondering, why do we have so many engagements? First of all, we were trying to comply with the Constitution. The issue of public participation. Not that it is difficult for us to act, but we thought, let us have an engagement. And as we stand here, I think my office has engaged close to 300,000 public servants. We always have every week virtual meetings. Virtual meetings every other time for people to understand what it is that the government needs to do and what are the consequences. That is why we came up with lawful consequences. We are asking people, if you are punished, don't blame anybody, because every infraction has a consequence. So number one is to comply with the Constitution. Number two is to sensitize and capacity build ourselves and encourage ourselves and instill confidence in yourselves that it is not going to be a space where political interference on governance system will be tolerated. It is you to make a decision to do the right thing. No one, I repeat, no one will punish you for doing the right thing. No one. The president is very clear that let people do their job and let this country move forward. So let us remember that if institutions within the public service work, Kenya will definitely work. So let me end there. Thanking you very much for coming, and let us go back home ready and charged to work. Thank you.
Well, we are upstanding with the permission of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service. I'd request Bishop Stephen Mairuri to come and make a closing prayer. Karibu, Bishop.
Right, let's all pray. Heavenly Father, we are indeed very grateful. Thank you for this fruitful day. Thank you for the Head of Public Service and all the leaders present and the deliberations that we've had. We commit the government-owned entities and the executive agencies to your hands, that Lord, you will bless and prosper their efforts. We are very grateful for this nation that you've given us. And Lord, it is your desire that your people are blessed through their services. And so we do pray that you'll take what we have deliberated and bless it so that, Lord, this nation will be fruitful. We thank you for today, and now as we dismiss us with your blessings, as you bless our president as he leads this nation. For it is in Christ's name I pray, and God's people said, amen. Thank you very much.
I can't keep this to myself anymore.
If Nazario loses his memory, I'll end up empty. He is everything to me.
The only thing you'll provoke is more gossip. If Alonso finds out, we'll get into trouble.
Well, you're the one who caused these problems.
Rodrigo convinced me to come back to him. He told me that he loved me and that somebody was trying to separate us, you know?
You know what she did after he left her standing at the altar? She told all of us that we had to celebrate the fact that she had been saved from marrying a fool like you.
Why don't you stop beating around the bush and tell me, what's wrong?
Nora, you're pregnant.
وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا.
Kile ambacho wanafanya wewe na mke wako ama wewe na mume wako, basi unatakiwa ukifanya kiwe ni baina yenu,
iwe ni siri baina ya mume na mke. Lakini mmoja wao kama ataanza kuzungumza, atamwambia fulani, mimi nimefanya na mke wangu hivi na hivi na hivi, bali ni katika tabia chafu mno. Na ile dhiki na ukupata katika maisha, usije ukatangaza ukawashtakia wanadamu.
Wazazi wa Kiislamu huchukua jukumu la kuwalea watoto kwa misingi ya imani, maadili na ibada.
from a young girl who was watching just Angaza,
Here you are.
and right now I'm here.
Wow.
This is such a huge testimony for me.
We want to talk about Gen Z Kingdom Woman. There's a generation rising, a generation of women. The last time nilisikia Gen Z walisema si tunaogopanga ndoa.
A Gen Z anaanza kuingia kwa social media around 10 p.m. Hiyo time ndio time best ya kustart preaching, releasing reels, and posting videos so that you can be able to capture them. And also going to other platforms like Instagram. The biggest gap we have is mentorship for them, especially even in schools.
So that means we need to be intentional in evading TikTok.
Yes, and even educating them.
My talents are dancing, acting, and even playing football.
I wonder what happened during their visit to the hospital that made their visit a little bit better.
My name is Stephanie, and today I'm going to show you how to make chocolate chip cookies.
And today I'm going to teach you how to make a coconut tree out of a paper plate.
Stylish shoes.
A new era has come to KBC Channel 1 TV on your favorite gospel show, The Backyard, with me, DJ Tabs, as we introduce to you our new host, the one and only award-winning gospel artist, pioneer, Mr. Big Deal, Mr. General, the one and only.
Yes, man, I go by the name Hope Kid the General, Mr. Big Deal, new school dancehall pioneer, and I'm humbled to be your amazing host from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. each and every Saturday with DJ Tabs, the head girl, and we'll be having amazing conversation with some of the leading guest line here on this show.
Join us
each and every Saturday.
We open a deeply human conversation about life after incarceration, the silent battles, the search for belonging.
And some money got lost during my tenure, so that is how I found myself through the court process and the legal journey. They said I was one of the mob justice people and 2 people were dead, so they arrested me. Being in prison, it strips you off of your dignity. You don't have your freedom. Everywhere you are going, you are being followed.
It's not a place you ever envisioned yourself being. So you have to find a way of surviving.
I was innocent. I was framed on something I didn't do. But people are still there. There are good days and there are bad days. But I'm grateful for where I am at right now.
City Rosa.
Umoja kweli ni nguvu, utengano ni udhaifu. Maisha poa inataka umsifu Jaja, kwa kweli baraka zitajaja.
Elimu ya kiufundi ni bora kuliko elimu ya kitaaluma. Hoja yangu ya kwanza ni kupunguza ukosefu wa ajira.
Elimu ya kiufundi unaulenga stadi maalum za soko la kazi, hivyo kupata kazi kwa urahisi zaidi.
Sasa ni dawa gani unafaa kunywa?
Mikono juu, mikono juu, mikono juu, mikono juu. Makolo, makolo, makolo. Zelele, zelele, zelele. Zelele, zelele, zelele. Karibu sana rais. Kwa siko, karibu sana. Twende, 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 twende. Sekia ongelelwa miaka 15 nengai nondo wa mawe. Piga makofi wapi shangwe na vigelegele rais. Twende, twende, twende. Au kena kwa lalo, wa kwa Sikumbondari Road. Au kena kwa lalo, au kena kukile Kimandala. Tukwane lalo, kuma kwa Sikumbondari. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa Rais. Karibu sana Maana Manite na Mheshimiwa Kilioki, Mheshimiwa Honorable CNN. Karibu sana. Karibu sana Rais.
Wakati huu Mheshimiwa Rais anaenda kuangalia barabara yetu, kisha baadaye ataachilia vifaa vya kazi kwa ajili ya masuala ya kawi. Tusubiri tu sasa, atarudi kuzungumza nasi. DJ, tupe burudani.
Haya, zelele siamu wa Kenya. William zelele. Karibu sana Rais, karibu sana. Maana bali na mheshimiwa akilioke, wina wa Honorable Charles mwana wangu na gavana Witu Balombe katika tu Witu, mheshimiwa Kawaya katika Witu, PS Mweke mwana wa Witu katika Witu. Na mena Njue Kindiki na mwana wa mheshimiwa
Jemedari wa vita, nikiwa naye sitaogopa, hata mapepo yametakuza. Mbinguni jemedari, hata kuzimu ni jemedari, dunia nzima jemedari.
Asante sana.
Hata kuzimu ni jemedari, dunia nzima jemedari, hakuna wa kupingana naye.
Wengine tutulie tafadhali, tosha hiyo, tosha. Asante. Tuanze kurudi sasa nyuma, turudi nyuma sasa, tufungue njia. Turudi sasa nyuma sasa tafadhali. Twendeni, let's go. Nenda upande ule, turudi kule. Sasa tuanze
nategemeo kwa watu wake, kwa nguvu zake jemedari, vijana Daudi kamshinda.
Haya,
to this live coverage here on KBC Channel 1. We are coming to you live from Kikeni sub-location in Mwingi West, Kitui County, where President William Ruto has just arrived to preside over